In the chilly winter of 2020, Fort Valley State University in Georgia was bustling with students looking forward to the upcoming graduation season. Among these students was Anitra Gunn, a dedicated and ambitious senior on the verge of completing her studies. Anitra, a vibrant 23-year-old, was juggling her academic responsibilities with a part-time job, while also preparing for her future through job interviews. Her hard work and dedication had begun to pay off, as she was receiving positive responses and celebrating milestones with her friends and family. However, Anitra's promising journey was abruptly cut short on Valentine's Day, when her friends started receiving peculiar messages from her phone. These messages were unusual, deviating from Anitra's normal communication style, and soon led to a concerning silence. Alarmed by the lack of communication, her father, Christopher Gunn, hurried from Atlanta to Fort Valley. In response, local authorities formed a task force to search for Anitra, with the sheriff vowing to leave no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice for her. Today's case revolves around a tragic murder in Georgia that took place just a few years ago, shaking the local community to its core. This cautionary tale echoes with many, highlighting the warning signs that often go unnoticed. Let's delve into this case and explore the events that transpired. In the winter of 2020, Anitra Gunn was a senior at Fort Valley State University. A graduate of Westlake High School in Atlanta, Anitra faced significant challenges in her life, including the loss of her mother at a young age. Raised by her father, Christopher Gunn, along with her younger brother, Anitra was determined to make her mark in the world. In 2016, she relocated to Fort Valley to study agriculture at FBSU, balancing her full-time studies with a part-time job as a server at the 1836 restaurant in town. Despite her busy schedule, Anitra maintained an active social life, always staying connected with her family in Atlanta. On the morning of February 14th, Valentine's Day, Anitra's best friend, Sierra Stewart, awoke to a series of messages from Anitra. The exchange began with friendly Valentine's Day greetings, but soon took a bizarre turn. Anitra's messages suggested she was planning to meet someone she referred to simply as Dude, which was out of character for her. Anitra had been involved in an on-again, off-again relationship with 22-year-old U.S. Army Sergeant Demarcus Little, and this sudden interest in another person was unusual. Sierra, who had never been fond of Demarcus due to his troubled relationship with Anitra, grew increasingly concerned. As the day progressed, she was contacted by a mutual friend, David Howard, also known as Scoot. Scoot had also received strange messages from Anitra's phone, and Demarcus claimed to have no idea where she was. Realizing something was amiss, Sierra reached out to Christopher Gunn in Atlanta. After speaking with Sierra, Christopher Gunn requested a welfare check at Anitra's home on West Church Street. The police found the house empty, and Anitra's car, a 2013 white Chevy Cruze, was missing. By then, the unusual messages from Anitra's phone had stopped. They began with texts to Scoot around 8:30 a.m., followed by messages to Sierra between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and then silence. Concerned family and friends continued to send messages, but received no replies. Upon arriving in Fort Valley, Christopher filed a missing persons report, prompting the formation of a task force comprising Fort Valley Police, the Peach County Sheriff's Office, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI. Anitra's last known location was the home of her boyfriend's aunt on Chestnut Hill Road, where she had spent the night of February 13th. This made Demarcus Little the last person to see her, raising suspicions about his involvement. The media and public quickly focused on him as a person of interest. Investigators began by searching the house where Anitra was last seen, and expanded their efforts to include aerial and ground searches with the help of helicopters and deputies. The night before her disappearance, Anitra attended a house party with friends, leaving around 11 o'clock. With her friend Tracy King, Demarcus, and his friend Javin Abram. The group visited Demarcus's home for a few hours, and sometime after 2 o'clock, Javan dropped Anitra and Demarcus off at her house so she could retrieve her car. The couple then went to a Waffle House before returning to Demarcus's aunt's house to spend the night. Demarcus claimed he last saw Anitra leaving at about 11:30 a.m. the next day, saying she had a job interview to attend. Demarcus, a 22-year-old Army sergeant, had grown up in Fort Valley. He joined the Army in 2016 and was stationed at Fort Eisenhower in Augusta, where he worked as a unit supply specialist. Initially, his relationship with Anitra seemed promising. Like Anitra, Demarcus had lost his mother early in life and was raised by his father and stepmother, with whom he shared a close bond. Despite his outwardly impressive background, Demarcus's relationship with Anitra was fraught with issues. As investigators delved deeper, they discovered that the relationship was toxic, characterized by control and manipulation. Friends of Demarcus, however, had a different view, believing in his innocence and supporting him throughout the investigation. Anitra's missing 2013 white Chevy Cruze was discovered a few blocks from her home, with the front bumper missing and mud and debris clinging to its tires. The day before, Javan had picked up Demarcus near the location where the car was found and had pointed it out to him, but Demarcus dismissed it. Inside the vehicle were Anitra's wallet and keys, but her cell phone was absent. Forensic analysis of the car revealed Demarcus's fingerprints and palm prints on the trunk, as well as DNA traces linking him to Anitra. However, given their relationship, these findings were not unexpected. Unexpectedly, Demarcus claimed, a day into the search, that Anitra had accidentally shared her phone location with him the previous day. He said the last known ping from her device was near South Camellia Boulevard. However, Officer Whitehead of the Fort Valley Police discovered that the phone had actually pinged about 5 minutes south, on Carver Drive. There, officers found Anitra's cell phone inside a drainage pipe. The search continued through rain and rough weather, with deputies scouring wooded areas on foot while helicopters remained grounded. A Peach County Sheriff's deputy noticed a path off the main road, appearing to have been recently disturbed by a vehicle. Following the trail on foot, the deputy found more signs of vehicle movement before discovering the poorly concealed body of a young woman under a light covering of branches and debris. Nearby were car parts matching the missing bumper of Anitra's Chevy Cruze. At a press conference, officials confirmed the discovery and the suspected connection to Demarcus Little. Today at 3:19, deputies and members of the task force located the body of Anitra Gunn. The vehicle's front bumper and other parts, found near the remains, matched the description of her car. We are currently investigating this as a homicide and will continue to follow every lead to bring those responsible to justice. An autopsy confirmed that Anitra had been strangled, showing signs of a struggle and trauma to the head. Her body had likely been dragged to the location where it was found. Within days, Demarcus Little was arrested, not for murder initially, but for an earlier property damage incident at Anitra's house. On February 5th, Anitra and Scoot were awakened by a noise, discovering slashed tires and bricks thrown through her windows. This incident marked the second time someone had vandalized her property. Despite Demarcus's arrest, he continued to assert his innocence in Anitra's murder. Demarcus eventually admitted to slashing the tires and throwing the bricks, claiming it was an impulsive act of rage after discovering another man at her home. Yet, he maintained he was not responsible for Anitra's death. His father, stepmother, and friends supported him, asserting that he was incapable of such violence. Despite being granted a $10,000 bond for the property damage charges, Demarcus was soon charged with malice murder before he could be released from jail. His longtime friend, Javan Abram, was also arrested for providing false statements and concealing a death. During Demarcus's trial in March 2022, Javan testified as a key witness against him, describing the events leading up to Anitra's murder and the subsequent cover-up attempt. According to Javan, During a car ride on February 16th, DeMarcus confessed to strangling Anitra. He claimed that after pouring his heart out to her, she had laughed at him, triggering a blackout that led to her death. Javin recounted how DeMarcus had shown him Anitra's body in the woods and asked for help in disposing of her belongings and concealing the crime. The trial revealed the toxic dynamics of DeMarcus and Anitra's relationship, with prosecutors highlighting his controlling behavior and threats. Messages between the couple illustrated Anitra's attempts to distance herself from DeMarcus and his manipulative responses, including threats of self-harm to elicit her sympathy and maintain contact. During the trial, defense attorney Benjamin Davis portrayed DeMarcus as a humble soldier, incapable of murder, while prosecutor Neil Halverson presented evidence of a relationship marred by manipulation and threats. The jury heard Anitra's messages, where she expressed her desire to end their communication and her feelings of being controlled. The prosecution presented cell phone location data, contradicting DeMarcus's claims about his whereabouts on the day of Anitra's disappearance. Despite DeMarcus's attempts to explain inconsistencies in his story, the evidence placed him at the scene where Anitra's body was found. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, ultimately convicting DeMarcus Little of felony murder and aggravated assault. Assistant District Attorney Don Baskin, speaking about the case, emphasized the challenges of addressing domestic violence and the importance of supporting victims trapped in abusive cycles. The judge sentenced DeMarcus Little to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, recognizing the severity of the crime and the need for justice for Anitra Gunn.